Hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Low Budget Review Show. I am your host, Eric Smith, and today I am talking about Last Days by Brian Evenson, and this is from Coffee House Press. I don't know how clearly you can see that. Last Days. This is actually two novellas, essentially, that tell one whole story. Let's look at the copyright page. I don't know. Doesn't really tell me that. The introduction tells me that. It's got an introduction by Peter Straub, and I'm going to get to that after I talk about the story itself. But the first part of this is called... You've got this ex-cop named Klein who is hired by these guys in a cult that deals in self-mutilation. Now, on a case, Klein, a bad guy, cut his hand off, and Klein self-cauterized the stump and then killed the bad guy. And so this cult of self-mutilators want Klein to help them solve a mystery, and that's the setup. So the first part of this book is called. Let me go. Skip the introduction. Again, we'll get to that. The Brotherhood of Mutilation is the first part of this book. And this is where we meet Klein. He's at home. He's done with having his hand chopped off and he's self-cauterized it. He's at home and just, doesn't want to get out of bed, doesn't want to go outside. He's running out of food, because again, doesn't want to go outside. These two guys call him and say, we want you to help us with something, but they're very vague, and he hangs up on them. They eventually call back, hangs up on him again. They tell him there's a plane ticket waiting for him. He doesn't bother going to the airport, so when he doesn't show up, they call him back. Eventually, they kidnap him, essentially, and they take him to this compound, and it's this weird... Again, it's a self-mutilating cult with a hierarchy based on how many appendages you've chopped off. So, and these two guys, Ramsey and Gauss, I don't know how you pronounce their names, that's what I'm going with. They argue a little bit about how this hierarchy works, because if you cut off a finger, you're a 1. If you cut off your whole arm, you're still just a 1. And one of them, I don't remember which, is like, it seems to me like it should be by weight or something. Because an arm is more than a finger, but either one just makes you a 1. But ones are the lowly people, the peons. The people at the top are 10s and 11s and 12s. And they're chopping all sorts of stuff off. So they bring Klein into this community, and he's told that he has to solve a murder, but everybody is really vague about everything. Klein doesn't know what the hell's going on. He just wants to leave, but he's told if he tries to leave, he'll be killed. He has to help, and things aren't what they seem, and there's roadblocks, and it's really weird, and eventually things come to a head. So then the second novella, the second part of the book, is called Last Days, and it's really difficult to talk about without giving away what happened in the first part. So it just continues the story, takes it into a new direction. That's all I'm going to say about that. Which will, again, this will bring me back to the introduction by Peter Straub. So, Brian Evenson, I have read before. I think I've read some short fiction by him. I really think I have. And I'm almost certain he wrote the Dead Space novel, or 2 Dead Space novels. I'm pretty sure that was a Brian Evenson. Should I even bother? Should I do this? I got my phone right here. Should I look it up? Just, you want to watch me look something up on my phone? Dead Space novels. All right. We have. There it is. It says Brian Evenson. I read one of these. Yeah, I read that one. Anyway, so I have read him before, but this is different than anything I've ever read by him. I was reminded of a couple of things while I was reading it, simply because of themes and such. One was Gun with Occasional Music by Jonathan Lethem, simply because it was an odd type of investigation that was a science fiction mystery where asking questions was considered rude. I don't think it was outlawed, but it was considered incredibly rude. So the main character was a PI, which meant private inquisitor. He had a license to ask questions. So we have this weird sort of world there, and we have this weird world here. It's the real world, but once he gets to the compound, because of the mutilates, as they're called, it becomes its own world, and it reminded me of that, of Gun with Occasional Music. The other thing, because of the hierarchy with the number of mutilations, I was reminded of a short story by Pierce Anthony. I don't remember the name of it, but it was a science fiction, dealt with a planet where torture was the hierarchy. And the more torture one could endure or went through, the higher in this hierarchy they are. And this emissary from Earth, I believe, has come there for peace talks or something, and nobody will talk to him until he's proven that he can go through all this torture. And the story tells you all the torture he goes through to be able to talk to these aliens. So again, because of the whole mutilation thing in this book, I was reminded of that. Just vague reminding me of it. You know, the stories themselves are not the same. But anyway, it's fascinating to me. Klein is an interesting character. He's not your typical, he's not really a PI. It's not clear. He was involved with the gentleman with the cleaver who cut his hand off, and then he killed the guy. So was he a cop or a detective? Now he's retired because of what happened to his hand. It's not clear. And he's not, it's not like he hung out his shingle and he's a PI, but these mutilates know about him and they need this mystery solved, and the rules won't allow them to bring in an outsider, but a case is made because even though he didn't self-mutilate, he didn't cut his own hand off, he did self-cauterize, which really impresses the hell out of everybody. So he was able to be brought in. But there's just, he's kind of, they want his help, but they're not helping him to achieve the goal of helping them, if that makes sense. I don't want to get into details about how they're stymieing his efforts and everything, because I am going to highly recommend this book. You know what? I don't remember if I rated it on Goodreads yet, but it's getting a 5 out of 5. Just the writing is incredible. It's funny and it's horrific. It's a very violent book. It's just, man, I'm definitely gonna have to read more from Brian Evenson. Definitely more of his non-media tie-in stuff. I'm reading his voice, essentially. That was my lame air quotes. I don't know that there's anything else I can really say about this, because again, there's so many twists and turns and things going on that I don't want to give any of it away. You should really read this for yourself. But it's got great characters. Gauss and Ramsey are fantastic. It's a weird, original idea, and the places it goes are crazy. And as I said, it's very violent. I thought it was fantastic. I'm definitely gonna have to read more Brian Evenson. Now, the introduction by Peter Straub. There's not much to say about the introduction itself. except Peter Straub really gets into like super heavy analysis of the story, which is, I want to be entertained. If it makes me think, that's fine. That's a bonus, but I'm not deeply analyzing everything. So a lot of the stuff he talks about, I probably would not have thought of as I was reading the story. My problem is, and the reason it's 5 out of 5, because I'm reviewing the story itself. But I wanted to bring this up because this is the second time this has happened to me. So I'm asking, why do people in introductions give away the story? Last year, maybe the year before I came back to do videos, I read Rosemary's Baby for the first time, and I have never seen the movie. I knew a couple of things about the story, but the edition that I have has an introduction by Stephen King, and he gives away huge plot points. And in this book, Peter Straub gives away plot points, gives things away, not as egregiously as Stephen King did for Rosemary's Baby. But why? Make this an afterword. It's in the beginning of the book. I read the book from front to back. So I'm telling you right now, if you're going to read this, skip the introduction. Read it after you've read the book. Why? Can anyone tell me why this is an introduction and not an afterword? Not a lot of books I read have introductions like this. So maybe two of them is a lot. Maybe that's a high percentage. I don't know. But I got annoyed a little bit. Just, why? Why are you telling me things about a story I haven't read yet? I don't get it. It's an interesting introduction. As I said, Peter Straub gets really analytical. But make it an afterword. Or right at the top, say, skip this introduction if you don't want the story spoiled. I don't know. Just don't know. Hopefully someone can tell me. Anyway, that rant is done, and my review for Last Days by Brian Evenson is done. So if you have any comments, questions, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just post a spoiler warning. We try to be polite here at the Low Budget Review Show. If you know why people give away plot points in their introductions, please let me know so I can yell at somebody. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to follow me on social media, my Twitter is @Ronin5757. My Instagram is EricSmith5757. That's ErikSmith 5757. And did I cover everything? I believe I did. So this has been the Low Budget Review Show. I have been Eric Smith, and until next time, read more books.